On December 8, 1941, 3 Lockheed Lodestar transports, bound for Manila to serve Philippine Airlines, were diverted mid-ocean as Japanese forces struck Pearl Harbor. Under the command of Captain Paul I. Esme, a retired United States Army Air Corps pilot, these aircraft landed at Nichols Field, Philippines, and were immediately pressed into service by the Far East Air Force. Within hours, they evacuated key personnel from Manila to Bataan, flying under enemy fire to deliver supplies to beleaguered American and Filipino troops. This urgent mission marked the Lodestars' abrupt entry into World War II, a conflict that would transform this civilian airliner into a versatile military workhorse. In the mid-1930s, the global aviation industry faced intense competition to capture the expanding commercial airliner market. The Douglas DC-3, introduced in 1936, set the standard for reliability and economy, carrying up to 21 passengers at low operating costs. Lockheed, a rising American manufacturer, sought to challenge this dominance with its Model 14 Super Electra, a twin-engine airliner designed by Clarence Kelly Johnson. First flown on July 29, 1937, the Super Electra offered superior speed and range, cruising at 250 miles per hour and covering 1,600 miles. However, its 10 to 14 passenger capacity and high operating costs made it less economical than the DC-3, limiting sales to 112 units by 1939. As World War II loomed, military planners recognized the need for fast, medium-range transports to support rapid troop movements, supply chains, and paratrooper training. The United States Army Air Corps, expanding in 1940, required aircraft to bridge the gap between small liaison planes and large cargo transports like the Douglas C-47. Internationally, Allied nations, including Britain, Australia, and the Netherlands, sought reliable transports to operate in diverse theaters, from the jungles of Southeast Asia to the deserts of North Africa. The Super Electra's performance, while promising, needed adaptation to meet these demands, prompting Lockheed to develop a larger, more cost-effective derivative. In 1938, Lockheed's Burbank, California facility, under the leadership of Chief Engineer Hall L. Hibbard, began work on the Model 18 Lodestar. The project aimed to improve the Super Electra's economics by increasing passenger capacity to match the DC-3's seat mile costs. The design team, including Kelly Johnson and engineer Robert E. Gross, extended the Super Electra's fuselage by 5 feet 6 inches, adding 2 rows of seats to accommodate 18 passengers. The prototype, converted from the fourth Model 14, construction number 1404, was redesignated Model 18 and assigned the civil registration NX 19471. On September 21, 1939, Lockheed test pilot Milo G. Campbell piloted the modified aircraft from Burbank Airport, California, completing a successful first flight. 2 additional Model 14 airframes, returned by Northwest Airlines after a series of crashes, were converted as prototypes, with the first newly built Model 18, construction number 1801, flying on February 2, 1940. Trials at Burbank revealed improved handling and performance, though the Lodestar's higher empty weight of 11,650 pounds required careful load management. The aircraft received its type certificate from the Civil Aeronautics Authority on March 30, 1940, enabling commercial service with Mid-Continent Airlines in Kansas City, Missouri, later that month. The Lodestar's design retained the Super Electra's low-wing, twin-engine configuration, but introduced key refinements. The fuselage, constructed of aluminum semi-monocoque, featured a circular cross-section with a stressed skin to balance strength and weight. The wings, spanning 65 feet 6 inches, had a 550-square-foot area and incorporated countersunk rivets forward of the wing root for aerodynamic efficiency. The tail assembly, with its distinctive twin vertical stabilizers, provided stability at high speeds. The retractable landing gear, hydraulically operated, folded into the engine nacelles, reducing drag. The cockpit, seating 2 pilots, included dual controls and basic instrumentation, with a cabin configured for 18 passengers or, in military variants, 14 troops. The Lodestar's powerplants varied by model. Early civilian versions used 2 Wright Cyclone GR1820G102 engines, each producing 1,200 horsepower, driving Hamilton standard hydromatic propellers. Military variants, such as the C-60A, employed Pratt & Whitney R1830 twin Wasp engines, also rated at 1,200 horsepower, for improved reliability in combat conditions. The design team addressed pilot feedback from Super Electra trials, adding air intake vents for cabin comfort and blanking over passenger windows in military conversions to streamline production. The Lodestar's technical specifications reflected its role as a fast, medium-range transport. The aircraft measured 50 feet 10 inches in length, with a height of 11 feet 10 inches. Its maximum takeoff weight was 17,500 pounds, though later variants, like the C-60A, reached 21,000 pounds. The top speed was 266 miles per hour at 10,000 feet, with a cruising speed of 225 miles per hour. The service ceiling reached 25,500 feet, and the range, with a 4,000-pound payload, was 1,650 miles. The fuel capacity of 644 gallons supported extended missions, such as transcontinental flights or supply runs in theater. The Lodestar carried no offensive or defensive armament in its transport role, though some military variants were fitted with light machine guns for self-defense during clandestine operations. The crew typically consisted of 2 pilots and a navigator, with a loadmaster or radio operator added for military missions. The aircraft's high wing loading of 32 pounds per square foot demanded skilled piloting, particularly on unimproved airstrips, and its single-engine performance allowed safe operation at 11,000 feet, a critical advantage over the DC-3 in mountainous regions like Western Canada. The Lodestar's operational history during World War II spanned multiple theaters and roles. In the United States, the Army Air Forces impressed 51 civilian Lodestars in 1941, designating them C-56, C-57, and C-59 based on engine types. The definitive military variant, the C-60A, was ordered in 1941, with 325 units built at Lockheed's Burbank plant. These aircraft, assigned to bases like South Plains Army Airfield, Lubbock, Texas, served primarily for paratrooper training, glider towing, and personnel transport. On March 15, 1943, a C-60A serial number 4253504 from the 466th Bomb Group at Victorville, California, towed a Waco CG-4 glider during exercises, demonstrating the Lodestar's versatility. Crews, including Lieutenant John W. Harper, praised its speed, noting that it could outrun many fighters when lightly loaded, but criticized its tendency to yaw in turbulence, requiring constant rudder input. In the Pacific, the Lodestar saw action early in the war. The 3 Philippine Airlines aircraft, redesignated C-56DS, operated by the 21st Troop Carrier Squadron, flew resupply missions to Corregidor from Del Monte Airfield, Mindanao, between December 1941 and March 1942. On January 2, 1942, Captain Esme's Lodestar, loaded with medical supplies, landed on Batan's dirt strip under Japanese strafing, evacuating General Douglas MacArthur's staff to Australia. All 3 aircraft were destroyed by enemy bombing by April 9, 1942. In Australia, the Royal Australian Air Force's No. 37 Squadron, based at Laverton, Victoria, received 12 C-60As in 1943. On August 20, 1943, a Lodestar, serial A67-1, transported wounded troops from Port Moresby, New Guinea, to Brisbane, Queensland, covering 1,300 miles in under 6 hours. Australian pilot Flight Lieutenant Ronald G. Cornfoot noted the aircraft's reliability, though he reported frequent engine overheating in tropical conditions, requiring careful monitoring. In Europe, the Royal Air Force operated 70 Lodestars, designated Lodestar IA and II, primarily with British Overseas Airways Corporation crews under RAF serials. On January 25, 1943, Lodestar Mk. II-986, construction number 2154, piloted by Captain Frederick R. Dudley, crashed 3 kilometers south of Heliopolis, Egypt, after overshooting the runway, killing 12 passengers, including Air Vice Marshal Wilfred A. McClaffrey and Lady Rosalind Tedder. The cause was undetermined, highlighting the risks of operating in austere conditions. RAF Lodestars also flew clandestine missions, delivering agents to occupied Europe from Tempsford Airfield, Bedfordshire, England, in 1942. Navigator Sergeant Harold J. Bennett described these flights as nerve-wracking, with the Lodestar's speed allowing evasion of German night fighters but requiring precise navigation over blacked-out terrain. In the China-Burma-India theater, the United States Army Air Forces, 10th Air Force used C-60As for supply drops to Merrill's Marauders in Burma. On May 17, 1944, a C-60A from the 14th Troop Carrier Squadron, based at Dinjan, India, dropped rations to the 5030th Composite Unit near Myitkyina, Burma, flying at 100 feet to ensure accuracy. Loadmaster Staff Sergeant Robert L. Klein recalled the Lodestar's ability to operate from short, muddy airstrips, though its unpressurized cabin caused crew fatigue at high altitudes. The Royal Canadian Air Force, operating 15 Lodestars with TransCanada Airlines, used them for transcontinental flights between Victoria, British Columbia, and St. John's, Newfoundland, from 1941 to 1947. On November 11, 1942, Lodestar CFTCY, piloted by Captain Gordon R. McGregor, completed a 4,000-mile round trip, delivering mail and spare parts to RCAF bases. The Lodestar's combat history extended to smaller air forces. The South African Air Force's No. 5 Squadron, based at Rand Airport, Johannesburg, operated 21 Lodestars for coastal patrols and transport in 1942. On March 3, 1943, a Lodestar serial ZSASN transported medical personnel from Durban to Cape Town, covering 1,000 miles in 7 hours. The Netherlands East Indies Air Force received 29 Lodestars in 1940, operating from Andir Airfield, Java, until the Japanese invasion in March 1942. A single Lodestar served with the Israeli Air Force during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, flying supply missions from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem between May and December 1948. Total production of the Lockheed Lodestar reached 625 aircraft across all variants. Civilian models included 96 airliners delivered to operators like Mid-Continent Airlines, TransCanada Airlines, and South African Airways. Military production comprised 325 C-60As, 51 Impress C-56 to C-59 variants, and 48 R-50 models for the United States Navy and Marine Corps. The Royal Air Force received 70 Lodestars, with additional units supplied to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and Brazil, including a custom 11-seat aircraft for President Getulio Vargas, delivered on June 15, 1942. After the war, surplus Lodestars returned to civilian service, often converted into executive transports with modifications like D. Howard's panoramic windows or Bill Lear's Learstar, featuring tricycle landing gear. By the 1950s, many were repurposed for aerial top-dressing in New Zealand, with 6 aircraft, including ZKBVE, construction number 2002, operated by Field Air from Gisborne until 1957. Several Lodestars survive in museums. The 1940 Air Terminal Museum in Houston, Texas, houses C-60 AN-31G, construction number 2253, donated by Paul F. Barnhart, SR. On December 27, 2002. This aircraft, delivered to the Army Air Forces on December 22, 1942, served at Long Beach, California, before a post-war career with Grub Oil Company. The South African Airways Museum at Rand Airport, Johannesburg, preserves Lodestar ZSASN, construction number 20026, displayed in its wartime configuration. The Canadian Museum of Flight in Langley, British Columbia, maintains CFTCY, a TransCanada Airlines veteran, restored to its 1941 livery. The Air Mobility Command Museum in Dover, Delaware, holds a C-60A, serial 4253512, flown to the museum in 1981 after service with Capital Airways. Fewer than 20 Lodestars remain airworthy, primarily in the United States, with examples like the commemorative Air Force Houston Wings C-60A, based at Ellington Field, Texas, flown in its 1943 paratrooper transport markings. The Lodestar's legacy lies in its adaptability, bridging the gap between civilian airliners and military transports during a pivotal era. While overshadowed by the Douglas C-47, which offered greater payload and ruggedness, the Lodestar's speed and range made it a vital asset in early World War II operations. Its design influenced later Lockheed transports, including the C-69 Constellation, and its derivatives, the Hudson and Ventura, saw combat as bombers and patrol aircraft. The Lodestar's limited commercial success, with only 32 units sold to United States carriers, reflected the DC-3's dominance, but its international sales and military service underscored Lockheed's growing reputation. By 1945, the Lodestar was phased out of frontline service, replaced by larger, purpose-built transports, but its role in training, logistics, and clandestine missions left a lasting mark. The Lockheed Lodestar, a swift and versatile transport, carried the weight of World War II's logistical demands, from the jungles of Burma to the skies of Europe, before fading into the shadow of its more enduring rivals.